Do your thing.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Final Fantasy Theory. I hope you enjoy this video. Today's theory, Ultimecia is the real winner of Final Fantasy VIII. For those of you that don't know, Ultimecia is the main antagonist of Final Fantasy VIII. She is a sorceress from the far future, and her plan is to compress all of time to a single point. In this universe, she would be like a god, and only she could live. Ultimecia feared aging and dying and wanted to prevent her ordained death at the hands of a seed. The seed were mercenary soldiers who carried out missions all over the world. This was to train them for their true purpose, which was to fight and defeat the sorceress. There have been many sorceresses throughout the history of Final Fantasy VIII universe. It is said their power comes from Hein, the god of Final Fantasy VIII. The sorceresses are often referred to as Hein's descendant. Each time a sorceress dies, she passes on her powers onto a new person. Usually this person has an aptitude for magic to begin with. The sorceress had to do this, otherwise they would never know rest. In Final Fantasy VIII, the first sorceress you fight is Edea, who received her power from two different sorceresses. In the beginning of the game, neither sorceress is named, but you eventually come to find out that Ultimecia was the second sorceress to pass her powers onto Edea. Ultimecia uses the power of a machine called Junction Machine Ellen, which is based on the little girl Ellen in the Laguna time zone, who is kind of like a sorceress. She was able to transfer people's conscious mind into the past mind of another person. Ultimecia uses this machine to possess Edea and search for Ellen, so she can go back even further in time. The game states that Ultimecia is looking for a powerful sorceress in the past so she can cast her time compression spell. During the game, you will fight Edea twice, who eventually will pass her powers on to Rinoa. Keep in mind that Edea was given all the powers of not only Ultimecia, a powerful sorceress in her own right, but another unknown sorceress. It's unsure just how much power she had. Once Rinoa becomes a new sorceress, she is kidnapped by Cypher and used to restore Adele, who is ultimately beaten and passes her powers onto Rinoa. For those of you that don't remember or may not know, Adele was an extremely powerful sorceress as well. Once Rinoa receives Adele's power, she is possessed by Ultimecia again. But because of the efforts of the Balam Garden Seed, led by Squall, Ultimecia is allowed to possess Sorceress Adele in the far past, when Ellen sends the consciousness of Rinoa and Ultimecia into the past Adele. All of this culminates in Ultimecia casting her magic and compressing all of time to a single point. The party, led by Squall, confronts Ultimecia and ultimately defeat her, but not before she says one of the most seemingly confusing things that I've noticed that most people get kind of confused on. Her most famous quote: "Reflect on your childhood, your sensation, your words, your emotions, time. It will not wait. No matter how hard you hold on, it escapes you." And my theory is that Ultimecia stated this because she knew she was about to die, and she needed to send her powers into a sorceress as far back into the past as possible. By telling the party to focus on their childhood, their emotions, and all of that, she was gambling that they would think of their time in the orphanage with Edea, who was known as Matron at that time. This ultimately is successful for her, as Squall does reflect on that childhood in that orphanage, and they go into the past. Squall is confronted by Matron, also known as Edea, and he ends up implanting the idea of Seed and Garden and their mission to defeat the sorceress. Ultimecia eventually appears and passes her powers onto Edea, stating that she cannot disappear yet. Now you're probably wondering, how is any of this Ultimecia winning? She just died. Well, there's a couple of reasons. The first, and most important, is that Ultimecia has set up a time loop. We know this because Adia tells the party midway through the game that an unknown sorceress passed her powers onto her, and she took those powers so the children wouldn't become a sorceress themselves. She was referring to Ultimecia at the time and just didn't realize it. We know that Ultimecia has been defeated at least once before the party does at the end of the game, because Adia got that power. From that point, Adia is given all of Ultimecia's power, and Ultimecia likely had all the power of every single sorceress throughout history, because each sorceress passes on their powers onto the next one, combining their powers with whatever power that new sorceress had. It stands to reason with Ultimecia, based on who she is, would have likely hunted down and killed every single sorceress and have eventually obtained all their power. So when she passes her power onto the past Adia, Adia becomes an extremely powerful sorceress, more powerful than any sorceress in the Final Fantasy VIII world at that time. Now, this would make Adia a prime candidate for the past Ultimecia to want to possess her because of how powerful she would be. This leads to the second reason. Each time the party confronts and kills Ultimecia, she will pass her powers onto Adia. Each time this happens, more power is added into the past that didn't exist. I know it sounds confusing, and that's mostly because of time travel, but you have to think, Ultimecia gains all the power of every sorceress the first time she ever lived, before she began the time loop. She gets defeated, she tricks Squall into getting them back to the past, she passes on her powers to Adia. Adia never had those powers to begin with from the Ultimecia, so now Adia is significantly more powerful. Then Adia passes on those powers to sorceresses, so Ultimecia, which had all the powers of every sorceress, and this other sorceress, gets passed into Rinoa, who had an aptitude for magic to begin with. Then Rinoa gets Adele's power, and then eventually Rinoa will pass on in the future, and that power will continue to go and to go and to go long into the future until Ultimecia gets it back. Each time she gets defeated, this power just keeps getting sent back into the past, and it gets stronger and stronger. Eventually, Ultimecia becomes powerful enough that she will succeed in her goal. After enough time loops, she will be able to defeat the seed and compress time. Thanks for listening, guys. I know it's confusing with the time traveling and everything. Tell me what you think. Discuss your thoughts. Am I right? Am I wrong? What do you think? Are you confused? If so, I'll try to comment on anything you will say and see if I can explain it. But tell me what you guys want to hear. And if you like the video, hit that like button and subscribe. Please share it. Thanks, guys.